Christ is king, it's where we belong. Stay with the dream, don't lose your way. Right way's the fire that'll light the day. Keep it simple, let the moment arrive. 3-8 trap keeps the hope alive. Hold on tight till the signal's near. Right way's the trail, we're breaking through fear.
Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for October 24th, 2025. Well, hope everyone had a great evening, ready for another wild and crazy day in the market. And today could be interesting with a CPI report. So let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, taking a look at Asian markets, Australia was a little bit lower last night by $13.80 or 0.15%. Hong Kong was up 192.17 or 0.74%. South Korea made a new record high of 96.03, 2.50% higher. The Nikkei zoomed higher, 658.04 or 1.35% higher. India was down 96.25 at 0.37%, and Shanghai was up 27.90 or 0.71% overnight. If we take a look at what's happening in Europe this morning, well, Europe not quite so as bullish, but kind of modest in its reaction so far today. We have the DAX this morning at $14.67, 0.06% higher this morning, while the FTSE is down just 46 cents. So basically zero on percentages, and CAC is down 28.15 or 0.35% lower this morning. If we take a look at U.S. futures, we're green across the board here. We really have shaken off any of the bearishness of the market or concerns in just heavily high anticipation of big tech reports. If we take a look at the Dow futures right now, we're up 56 points on the Dow at the moment. S&P 500 futures are up $20.75, and NASDAQ futures are up $127 here this morning, probably off the back of that Intel report pushing higher here last night. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at what we have going on in bonds this morning. Bonds are a little bit higher here today. We've got the 2-year bonds at 3.49%. The 10-year bonds have moved up to 4.00%, and those 30-year bonds 4.59% here this morning. Now, interestingly enough, as that is going on, the dollar is holding bullishness here today. We struggled in here just a little bit on that dollar, but still holding that upside trend, looking pretty good in there. Nice hold of price support through here, just getting a little bit of rest in there on a little consolidation out toward trend. Right now the dollar is up about 8 cents here this morning, so keep an eye on that. The next stop up here would be to see if we could break back through that resistance high or recent highs here in the dollar. If we take a look at what's happening to precious metals this morning, well, gold's having a pretty rough day again today. If we take a look at gold, gapping lower here this morning, right now down 71.40 an ounce at 4,075 an ounce. Silver is also lower here this morning, pushing back. We've got silver down 92 cents or 47.78 an ounce here this morning. Copper also moving lower here today. We've got copper down at this moment only about a penny and a half, but it is falling. Platinum, that had a really good day yesterday, is also gapping lower here this morning, down 35.90 an ounce, 2.26%. And palladium is down 3.05% here this morning, or 45.40 an ounce, already bouncing off the lows, however. Cryptos this morning still trying to get a little bit of bullishness going in here to the upside. IBIT, as you can see, pushing back up toward this downtrend in here. A lot of resistance above, but Bitcoin itself up 802.69 a coin, or 0.72%. Ether is up 2.37% here this morning, trying to push back up toward price resistance, up 91.13 a coin. Solana is up 24 cents, or 0.13% here this morning. Green across the board in those cryptos. And then if we take a look at what's going on in oil, boy, oil continuing to show quite a little bit of bullishness after the Russian sanctions go into place. And as you can see, oil right now up just slightly. Oil futures at this moment up 10 cents, 61.90 a barrel, keeping that bullishness going. Brent crude is at 66.03 a barrel, and natural gas moving lower here this morning by just over a nickel here today. So keep an eye on that as we push back up, trying to see if we can break through this little downtrending situation in here. If this holds this higher low in here, however, I'm going to be watching carefully on that for that potential to pick something up here in natural gas. You can see we're in a pattern that we call the round bottom breakout pattern, a very productive bullish pattern if we can prove to hold. Last time we pushed up here, tried, failed, push up here, hold, and I'd be looking for some opportunity there in UNG. So watch that closely. Let's see. I think that's it here on all those details this morning. So how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. Truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at these index charts, see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be, and we want to shake off that bias, focusing in on the details of the price action and the events that could create volatility today. When we take a look at the diamonds chart here, pretty hard to see this in anything other than a bullish chart. We had obviously this bearish candle here on Wednesday, and I mentioned that the follow-through was really going to matter here. If we followed through to the downside, broke support, then we'd be worried. But nope, we shook that off, went right back up. So we have a bullish pattern setting up here in the diamonds. And if we can continue to find inspiration today, I think there's every reason to believe that we could push right through this resistance, be pushing right back up here, and possibly even setting new record highs at the close in the diamonds if our data is good and we don't find any reason to stumble here today. If the bears, however, were to find something in here to react to, it wouldn't be all that hard as well to see a pushback down. If we were to break this low and break that upside trend, my first concern would be whether or not we can hold this level of price support that runs all the way back over here. If that holds and we bounce off of that, I think we're just in a consolidation as we wait for big tech reports. If, however, the data today pushes us lower and breaks us down below there, that's where I think we're going to have a little bit of worry going into the weekend. If we take a look at the SPY, SPY, also very bullish chart. Nice little resting consolidation. We shook off that Wednesday pullback in here that filled this gap. No worries at all. and a nice bullish candle here yesterday. So with the bulls pushing here this morning, you'll notice we're breaking through up here. We're going to set a new record high at the open if this continues to hold up here this morning, holding in this upside trend. So blue sky above, certainly possible here in the SPY, with huge anticipation for the big tech reports. If, however, the bears were to find something that pulls this back today, well, again, pulling back into this area here means nothing. I think it's just a consolidation as we wait for those tech reports. It would be if we break below there. If we broke below there today, that would raise some concerns in the market. But right now, there's no evidence of that, and we are extremely bullish in the market. Valuations just don't seem to matter here at all. Our S&P 500 right now on the Buffett indicator is as high as it's ever been, 220.9. So we are very elevated here. We're higher elevated than we were in 1999, 2000, higher than we were in 2008. So with that in mind, if any of these big techs stumble, just be prepared for some big point moves in that situation because of this valuation problem that we've got. But when I look at this chart, all I can see is bullishness, and I think there still is more upside potential here in the SPY. Just be prepared in case we happen to slip. Our QQQ also very bullish this morning. Possible new record highs here at the open today as we continue to stretch on up. So watch that carefully. If the bulls have anything to say in here, just blue sky above here, depending on how the data comes out today. If the bears were to have anything to say, once again, just pulling back into this range into here, I don't think there's any problem with the QQQ if it just pulls back and retests yesterday's low. The question would be if we were to push down through this area of support and break that down. And I know we look at that and we think there's no way we can have a candle that moves like that. Well, case in point, yes, we can have a candle that moves like that. So make sure you're prepared in case we slip here or stumble in any way, shape, or form. If we take a look at IWM also bullish candle yesterday. We bounced right off of this area of support, pushing back higher. I think there's every reason to believe we could push through this resistance in the chart and then be working our way back up here toward that all-time high and possibly new records in the IWM if we can get that done, and blue sky above there. It would be if those bears have anything to say and we were to push back. Once again, I think pushing back into this range and holding that support, no particular worries. It would be if we broke down through there, closing this down through there, that we would raise a little concern in IWM. So far, nothing in there to be terribly worried about. If we take a look at the VIX, yesterday we had the VIX moving up just a little bit, but we shook it off. We just, no, don't care. We want to buy stocks. We believe the tech reports are going to be awesome. And so we drifted that VIX back down, keeping in mind that we are still holding this upside trend and price support in the chart. So if the bulls can continue to find this inspiration, we really need to see this break down from that upside trend. That would ease some of this pressure. If you've been noticing, bid-ask spreads in the futures are terrible, really wide. Market makers are even protecting themselves because of the uncertainty. So watch that carefully here. If we can break that down and push right back down into this area of price support, that would ease things up here quite a bit on a strongly bullish move if that were to occur. If, however, though, the bears were to find any inspiration in here to push back, bouncing off of this area and bouncing off of this upside trend could raise that concern. And remember, it's always those higher lows in here. When we make those higher lows, that's where the real selling can occur. So watch that carefully here. If we do happen to end up with some reason to have a little bit of fear come up in the market, watch that carefully. Our T2122, good job yesterday moving back to the upside here in T2122, stretching back through this little downtrend that we had mentioned the other day. So pushing about 71% of the stocks above in the high-low ratio. So with a good bullish move today and anticipation of earnings, we've seen Fridays be very, very bullish all summer and fall. So watch this carefully. I think there's a chance we could stretch right on up here into that bearish reversal zone in anticipation of those big tech reports next week. Keep an eye on that. If the bears were to have anything to say, though, you want to just recognize the fact that we've opened up a pretty big door for them to attack if, for some reason, we were to stumble. So watch that carefully here on T2122. Our T2108, good job yesterday. Nice little rally back up. We've got this back up here to 40% of the stocks, back above their 40-day moving average. We've broken through that downtrend here that we talked about yesterday. So I think there's every reason to believe that could continue to stretch on higher, and we start attacking some of these areas of resistance in here up there around 45% and then moving back up toward 50%. If the bears were to have anything to say, well, you can see there's some support right in here. And we've got some support right in here, down around 30% as well. So watch that carefully. If the bears have anything to say, we certainly have some areas we could attack. T2107, the same thing. T2107 has held up really well. And again, pushing back through this little downtrend that we talked about, looking good, holding on to this price support in here, back above that 50% here in the chart. As a matter of fact, with a good stretch this morning, I think we could be attacking up here this resistance area in the chart that runs all the way across there. And if those bulls can push on through there, I think we could easily see us back up here around 55%, maybe even attacking that recent high in T2107. On the bearish side, well, we've got some support if we were to pull back right in there. We certainly have some support if we were to pull back, that's not very straight, pull back into this region of the chart if the bears were to have anything to holler about today. Let's take a look at our T2101. I also have to give this to the bulls. As we rallied up yesterday, we did get bullish breadth pushing through. On the sell wave, if you remember, I suggested that the bears really didn't have any teeth because that breadth was declining as they pushed. And so bullish action coming in here, pushing it back up. If we can see the bulls continue to push through to here today to the upside, we want to have that accompany that breadth in here to the upside as well. What we don't want to see is if we get that bullish move to the upside and then see that breadth declining, that may bring back those bears a little bit. So watch that carefully here in T2101. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. Now, our economic calendar is going to be, let's get the economic calendar instead. The economic calendar, we have our busiest day this week of economic data. First off, we're going to get the CPI report. A lot of questions about this CPI report. There's questions as to whether the data will even be accurate. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea how the market could react to this. If the numbers were to come in anywhere close to consensus here, I think we're in pretty good shape. If, however, our CPI number goes substantially higher, if that really picks up to the upside, that might raise some concerns that the market is overheating, and we could run into a situation where the market then starts to worry about rate cuts coming up. So watch that carefully here in the market. But right now, I think if we stay in this range, relatively within this range of the consensus, I think we're going to be okay. But boy, I think anything is possible here this morning on this. So I would be prepared for some volatility around this report before the market opens. If we take a look after that, we've got a PMI composite number. We're expecting our manufacturing PMI to decline from 52 to 50, increase from 52 to 52.1. A decline in services from 53.9 to 54. So actually that's an improvement, on both of those by 1/10. So watch those carefully here on the PMI numbers. We've got new home sales. This is a number that I think there's a possibility we could see that improve as well with the lowering rates that we have seen. That could help on those new home sales. So keep an eye on that. If we beat estimates, could make for some bullish action here in the market. And then we've got a consumer sentiment number, and they're expecting that sentiment number and year ahead inflation expectations to remain flat. So no big issues or worries there if it comes in like that. And a Baker Hughes rig count, which will be the least concern here for today in the overall market. If we take a look at our earnings calendar today, well, it's much lighter. Here's what we have for notables here today. So keep an eye on these stocks. Obviously, they can have a little bit of price action move. I'm sorry, I typed one of these wrong. It's not Goldman Sachs. It's General Dynamics. That will be reporting in here. So keep an eye on these reports this morning. Let's take a look at just a few of those here. First thing, BAH moving lower here this morning. FHB, no action in there, probably hasn't reported. General Dynamics, a little bit higher here this morning, probably waiting on the report. Procter & Gamble trying to push up here this morning. STEL, no action in there yet on that. So keep an eye on some of these reports today. Maybe have a little bit of price movement in here, but obviously not the kind of big market movers that we're waiting for next week. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful and you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thanks so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. You can't even imagine how much it humbles me to know that there are folks out there that are willing to listen to content that doesn't have all kinds of hype in it, all kinds of prediction in it, just really looking at the details of the chart. And I got to tell you this, I do this video as much for me as I do for anyone else. I've done this for years and years and years, but this was my process to get me centered and focused on what's going on in the for the day ahead, so that I wasn't in a reaction mode. I was always thinking about the details heading into the day. And it means a lot to me, the kind support that you guys show me in these videos. Thank you very much. I am truly humbled by it. Thank you. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. And remember, everyone, these aren't recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market, watching closely and carefully for the details here on the day, because some of these reports could potentially move us. And I think big point moves are possible, both to the upside and the downside, and I even think that we have the potential of both in the same day, with big whipsaws. So be kind of thoughtful about how you approach the market. Let's take a look at some of these stocks that could be setting up. First off, I want to point out a few of these pay systems out here. MasterCard breaking back through this downtrend in here. This nice stretch back up. I like the way that's looking. A little rest, a little pullback in here. If we can catch that bullish action coming up in there, we may have a bottoming pattern coming in here on MasterCard. Also, take a look at Block. Now, I have a bias here on Block because I've been holding this as a long-term potential trade. There's the weekly. Nice bullish candle there for the week coming into play. We really haven't broken out up here, but with a little bit of a bullish push, I think this could break to the upside. So watch that carefully here on some of those pay systems, Visa, MasterCard. Keep an eye on some of those. They're looking pretty good overall. Let's take a look at the financials here. If we take a look at XLF, I still have a concern here in our major financials. We're still running in this downtrend. If you'll notice, we're struggling to get back through that downtrend and that resistance in the chart. Perhaps we'll get a little bit of push and get that done. But until we can push through this area up here, I would be a little bit concerned on that chart. Yes, this could potentially be making a little higher low in here, but when we're in a wedging pattern like that, we have about a 50% chance this could pop through up here or break down. Keep an eye on those financials. We're going to need those financials if we're going to remain bullish, and there is a little bit of question in here about what's going on those financials, so watch that carefully. Let's take a look at TLT in here. Now, TLT has really been moving nicely to the upside. We've closed several trades here recently on TLT, and I'm holding TLT stock in a longer term in here, and we've made this nice move back up. Now, as this rests and pulls back, watch that carefully in here for that little rest and consolidation, and maybe coming back. I need to readjust this in here. Coming back into this trend. Watch that carefully in here. We may find that next opportunity here in those bonds if they continue to ease up on pressure as we move closer and closer to an FOMC meeting where they may or are highly expected to lower rates. So watch that carefully in here on TLT. There may be some opportunities. Recent trade we just closed on this on an option position was over 32% profit. So keep a close eye on that. Good money can be made here. Take a look at Taiwan Semiconductor. Anything in that semiconductor area has been pretty darn strong. Taiwan Semiconductor has been struggling in here in a consolidation, but honestly, that's a good thing. Anytime we have a nice strong run to the upside, we commonly go through a period of consolidation or even what I call a protracted pullback. What we're seeing in here right now is a pretty good stretch in that consolidation. What's notable to me is so far we haven't had anybody really say, boy, they really want to sell this. So holding on to this support, if we can get some bullish action here in the market, we might just see that push on through here to the upside. Watch that closely, and big tech reports might be the kind of thing that makes that move to the upside without the risk of gambling on those big tech earnings. We could be in something like this or watching something like this without that crazy risk and big point moves that could occur in some of those tech giants. So watch that carefully here. I would also be keeping an eye here on utilities. Utilities have pulled back nicely, holding some support and trend in here, and their stocks out there starting to look pretty good here in that group. Take a look here at NEE pulling back, trying to find a little bit of bullishness in here, trying to catch onto the little bit of price support right in there. Maybe we start to extend that trend here to the upside in some of these utilities. Take a look at like Southern Company. Also, nice little pullback in here. Watch that carefully. If we can find this price support in here, catch a little bit of bounce, I would watch that carefully. Remember, with all of the data centers out there being built and the energy supply that they are sucking up, utilities are making out like bandits right now, and I would continue to keep an eye on some of those guys. Looking pretty good overall. Let's take a look at United Health in here. And I've been watching and waiting on United Health here for quite a while, and we've been languishing in this consolidation in here. But I still think there's a possibility that could pop in here and push on up at least toward that 200-day moving average. So keep an eye on United Health. Still looking bullish. We haven't been able to get any selling activity in here on this after all of this time. So those bulls are hanging on for some upside move. We just need a little bit of push to attract more folks into that trade. Worth paying attention to overall. And then take a look at the biotech sector. Biotechs have been holding up pretty well. Nice little resting pattern in here. Pulling back toward the trend. I think there could be some opportunity setting up in here for that next move to the upside. And we can see that in some of our drug makers here like J&J. Big stretch move to the upside and now just resting, coming back out here to trend. I'd keep an eye on that. Moderna has been trying to break this bottom pattern in here, trying to hold, so watch stocks like that. Merck has been trying to come up, trying to put in a higher low, and take a look at that on a longer term chart. That's a beautiful weekly pattern here for a potential move out of this bottom here on Merck. So keep an eye on some of those drug makers as well. They're trying and looking pretty good overall. Watch them closely. Let's take a look at a few other stocks in here. I am really keeping an eye here on PRGS, and I'm a little disappointed that it's pulled back as much as it has. Still in this resting pattern, consolidating in here. Doesn't report toward the end of next month, but I think if we were to get some bullishness coming into those big deck reports, we might see that push right on through here. So watch that carefully in PRGS, looking pretty good. You know, BTU had such a big parabolic run here to the upside. I'm not surprised to see that pull back, but I still want to be watching this closely because anything that produces energy is something that's going to be in demand here in the as we build out all of these data centers. So watch that carefully in here. This might get into that little bit of protracted pullback in here, coming back into trend, but watch that carefully. We could easily find that way to put in that higher low in here and then see that move on higher. So I wouldn't throw this off of a list. I would continue to watch that pretty carefully. Take a look at a few defensive sector stocks. Take a look at Monster Beverage. Monster holding up nicely in here. Nice little resting consolidation out to trend. I think there is an opportunity. If we start to see some concern in the overall market, look to some of these defensive sector stocks that are holding up. They could move pretty nicely here. So keep an eye on things like Monster. I did see that like McCormick was trying to come up out of this bottom. We saw a few moves here trying to come up out of here from Colgate. Little rest in here, might see that bullish move to the upside. So keep an eye on some of those defensive stocks. PepsiCo would be another one I would be watching. A little resting consolidation after pushing into this resistance. All we need is that little bit of push here. And what could make that happen is if some of the big tech giants don't really impress all that much, we might see stocks like that move back up. Keep an eye on things like Walmart, that nice little resting consolidation up here. That could set up that next opportunity as well. I would keep an eye on stocks like TTWO. They're holding in here along this support. Be worth paying attention to in here. TJ Maxx is still holding in this nice little resting consolidation after regaining. We lost support here, regained it and I'd be watching that carefully if those buyers step up here on that. Still watching these stocks on like First Solar. Nice little pattern in here. We came back to the trend and support, popped a little bit today, trying to get a little bit of follow through. Watch that carefully here in some of the solars. Things like Sunrun also setting up nicely in here as well. So lots of stocks that are looking really, really good. And you don't have to be in just the Mag 7 to be making money in this market. So watch some of these carefully. Be careful, plan your trades carefully, because the next couple of weeks I think could be extremely volatile. We could see some big moves to the upside or downside. We could see some big whipsaws. With that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a great day. And just as importantly, I want to wish you a wonderful weekend with your family. Be careful, be safe. See you right back here bright and early Monday morning. As always, I wish you all the very best.
Black and white candles, my stars in the dark. Price is my king, got that fire and spark. Rideways my ranch on the trader's trail. Trading with heart where the profits prevail.